Now, this was also interesting to me, Jake. CFB Hourglass, you've got projected right now only one undefeated team. And these are just regular season records that we're throwing out here. This isn't postseason. You only one undefeated SEC team, and it's not the one I think most would assume. It's not Georgia. It is Texas. You've got Texas 12-0, Georgia 11-1. And I'm going to make an assumption, but you let me know. Is that because Georgia has to go to Texas, to Alabama, and to Ole Miss? Or the schedule after last season that was kind of joked all off season. What a pathetic schedule this is. They have done a 180 on the Bulldogs. They got a very, very difficult slate here. Was that kind of the difference of why your models got Georgia 11-1 and Texas 12-0?
Yes, 100%. And, you look at just what you just said, you kind of framed it up. I mean, you look at Georgia's schedule versus Texas's schedule. And look, schedules we know this, they matter. I mean, look at Texas, they open up with Colorado State. And we're talking about a team that is one of the top recruiters in the country. And, when I kind of mulled through this, and let me just go over here and tell you this too. This is the way I have it. Not everybody's going to agree. The top talented teams in the country, are still Alabama and Georgia. And throw in Oregon, Texas, and even the Miami Hurricanes. And Michael, there's not a whole lot of difference between those teams as far as talent. When you start, bringing in the transfer portal rankings, you start bringing in everything that's going on with roster churn and attrition. But back to Texas, one of the best rosters in the country. Steve Sarkisian gets a bump and a bonus today, new contract that's out there. Those details, I'm sure you've seen it, are out there. One of the better quarterbacks in the country in Quinn Ewers. They have the best wide receiver room, where you could argue one of the best in not just the conference, but the country. And a schedule that is very manageable. Colorado State, now they have to go to Michigan in week 2, but you look at Texas. This is not your same Michigan team. No Jim Harbaugh, no quarterback, no running back, no J.J. McCarthy, no Blake Corum, new coaching staff. So I feel comfortable that they will go in there and get that win. Then they go UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State, and a bye week before they get Oklahoma on the third weekend or second weekend in October. Then they get Georgia at home, Vanderbilt on the road, a bye week, and they finish with Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky, and at Texas A&M. I do think Georgia probably gets them in the championship game of the Southeastern Conference, which will make that very interesting as far as seeding is concerned for the national playoff. But I think Texas and Georgia are the two best teams in the conference. And I give the nod just because of the schedule, and they play the Dogs in Austin for the Longhorns.
Could you see a scenario? I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but again, you said it. You would favor Georgia in an SEC championship game if it was Texas and Georgia. Could you see a scenario where these two they're so good next year that they play 3 times, regular season, SEC championship, and then the third time would obviously be in a college football playoff scenario?
I think it's possible. And that's one of the things I've been talking about on my show is I'll be more intrigued to see than anything is how this new playoff committee ranks and puts teams in a bracket, right? Is Texas and Georgia, and if you want to throw Alabama or Ole Miss, only one team can represent the SEC with an automatic bid, right? The first round bye. What does the committee do with the second team? So let's just play the scenario out. Let's say Georgia wins the SEC. Texas is number 2. Are they on the same side of the bracket as Georgia, or will they be placed on the other side of the bracket as Georgia? A lot of that, of course, is going to be where they're seated in this thing, because I still believe, obviously, Notre Dame, if they get to 10 wins, they're going to get into this tournament. They'll have at least one group of 5 team in, and I'm not so sure that the committee in year 1, if we have a Tulane or a Liberty or a Boise State or a Memphis, if you have 2 of those teams that have 1 loss or undefeated, you may get 2 of those. So where will the committee put the other big SEC school? Will they be on the same side or the opposite side? If they break them up, absolutely, you could see a championship scenario. Of course, if you put them on the same side, you may see them as well. But it will be fascinating to see how the bracket is set up.